Let's go Dolphins! The atmosphere is intense behind the scenes at the Miami Dolphins headquarters, and I've got some serious updates to break down with you all. We know the Dolphins are on a mission to reach the Super Bowl, and for that to happen, Mike McDaniel needs a roster stacked with quality. Chris Grier? Yeah, we're still wondering how he's holding onto that GM seat. He should have been gone by now. But unfortunately, he's still calling shots, and that means we need to keep a sharp eye on every move coming out of the front office. I've got some things that will get you talking. But before we dive into it, make sure you smash that like button, only if you're a real Dolphins fan. If you've been riding with this team for over 20 years, I want you to comment, "Go Dolphins! My heart bleeds aqua and orange." Alright, here's the deal. The Dolphins have just cleared some major roster space, and it's not just fringe names getting the axe. In a series of moves that caught attention all over Dolphins Nation, Miami cut ties with several players, including long snapper Blake Ferguson, who had been with the team since 2020, and defensive tackle Neil Farrell, a former fourth-round pick. These aren't just nameless bodies on a depth chart. These are guys who, until recently, had been part of the long-term outlook in Miami. But now, they're out. Let's talk about Neil Farrell for a second. He was originally picked up by the Raiders and brought over to Miami on a futures contract. But after a disappointing showing last year where he barely moved the needle, especially in a scheme that needed him to be more than just a placeholder, the coaching staff decided enough was enough. He was a big body with too many holes in his game, no anchor, poor leverage, and just didn't bring that push we needed up front. When your defensive linemen can't hold their ground or disrupt anything in front of them, that's a problem. The staff clearly agreed. It was time to move on. And Jason Hines? 2 years on and off the practice squad, former Patriots pick, and he never cracked through despite the O-line injuries in 2023. Let's be honest, if you can't make a dent on one of the most injury-riddled offensive lines in the NFL, your shot is probably up. Miami's front office might not get everything right, but this cut makes sense. Same goes for Ryan Cooper Jr., who never quite found a foothold even with a scheme that should have fit his style, given his Seattle roots under Mike Macdonald's system. Once Jason Marshall came in through the draft, Cooper's fate was all but sealed. Now, the Blake Ferguson release is where it gets complicated. Drafted by Miami in the 6th round in 2020, Blake had been the team's go-to long snapper until 2024, when something behind the scenes pushed him off the field. Ferguson, who is known to have type 1 diabetes, landed on the non-football injury list and didn't return for the remainder of the season. There's a lot of chatter out there, rumors and whispers, but nothing official, and I'm not going to speculate on his health. What we do know is that the Dolphins couldn't afford to juggle long snappers every few weeks. Elevate one, burn a practice squad spot, then cut, rinse, repeat. That's a recipe for chaos, and special teams can't operate under that instability. Now, while the Dolphins were cutting ties with old names, they were also signing new ones. 7 of their 8 draft picks have inked their rookie deals. That's right, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Jason Marshall, Dante Trader, Ollie Gordon, quarterback Quinn Ewers, and defensive tackle Zeke Biggers are all officially in. The timing? Crucial. This isn't just about getting guys ready for rookie camp. This is about the cap. Kenneth Grant, the first rounder, is the only one whose contract immediately hits the salary cap, dropping the team's cap space by around $3 million. The rest of the rookies? Their deals don't even crack the top 51 contracts, which means they don't count against the cap, yet. That's important because of what's going on with Jalen Ramsey. Yes, that Jalen Ramsey situation is still looming. And here's the kicker. If Miami cuts or trades Ramsey before June 1st, they lose $12 million in cap space. But if they wait until after June 1st, they save $5 million this year and delay a massive cap hit until 2026. It's what they did with Xavier Howard, and it's likely what they'll do here. You don't sign a $4 million contract for Kenneth Grant unless you know cap relief is coming. And that relief is likely a post-June 1st Jalen Ramsey exit. Now that leaves us with one unsigned draft pick, Jonah Savaiania. And why hasn't he signed yet? Because just days ago, the Houston Texans threw a wrench into every second-round contract negotiation by handing out the NFL's first fully guaranteed second-round rookie contract to Jaden Higgins. Just 3 picks before Jonah. That's unprecedented. And now Jonah's agent, Ryan Williams, is likely holding out for a similar deal. Miami's counter-argument? You weren't our first pick. Kenneth Grant was. And he already got the fully guaranteed deal because he's a first-rounder. But from Jonah's side, it's a fair ask. If the Texans can do it, why not the Dolphins? This could drag out a bit, unless Grier and company decide that locking in a potential starter on the offensive line is worth a few extra million in guarantees. And given how much Stephen Ross and McDaniel hyped up Jonah on draft night, don't be surprised if this deal gets done sooner rather than later. They need him in camp, learning, and preparing to play a big role. So now, with 7 rookies signed and room made on the roster, the Dolphins are at a crossroads. They've got cap constraints, a big name likely on the way out, and one key rookie still unsigned due to a massive shift in contract precedent. How do you feel about all these moves? Do you agree with the direction Miami is taking? What do you think should happen with Jalen Ramsey and Tua Tagovailoa? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Grier is going to mess this up again? Or can McDaniel's vision still shine through? Let's pick it right back up. So here we are, with 7 rookies officially signed and one major domino still left to fall. Tua Tagovailoa, the offensive lineman Miami traded up for in the second round, remains unsigned. And look, this isn't just a paperwork delay. This is about leverage, precedent, and power. After Houston handed Jaden Higgins the first fully guaranteed second-round rookie contract in NFL history, every agent representing a top 40 draft pick now has a new weapon at the negotiation table. And Ryan Williams, Jonah's rep, is no fool. The Dolphins, of course, are pushing back. They're making it clear that Jonah was not their top pick in this draft class. Kenneth Grant was. And Grant got the fully guaranteed deal that comes standard with being a first-round selection. But here's the thing. Jonah was picked just 3 spots after Higgins. So the question becomes, do the Dolphins want to fight over a few million in guaranteed money and risk creating tension with a player they clearly believe in? Or do they step up, lock him in, and move forward? Remember, this isn't just about Jonah the prospect. It's about Jonah the potential day 1 starter. Miami's offensive line has been a carousel of injuries and inconsistency for years. And let's be honest, the Dolphins have been trying to patch up this unit with duct tape and desperation. They've whiffed on draft picks. They've cycled through offensive line coaches. They've paid veterans who didn't pan out. So when you finally invest high draft capital into someone who can help anchor this unit for the next 4 years, you do whatever it takes to get him under contract and in the building. Period. But the longer this holdout stretches, the more it hints at deeper dysfunction. And that's where Grier comes back into the spotlight. Dolphins fans aren't blind to the repeated missteps in roster construction. Sure, this team is talented. Sure, it has elite playmakers. But when it comes to the trenches, the dirty work that wins playoff games, Miami has consistently been behind the curve. That's why this Jonas situation matters. It's not just about one player's contract. It's a litmus test for how seriously this front office takes building a contender in the areas that count the most. Now, all of this is unfolding while the Dolphins quietly prepare for the inevitable post-June 1st move involving Jalen Ramsey. It's almost certain now that Ramsey's future in Miami is over, and it's just a matter of timing. But make no mistake, once June 1st hits, the Dolphins will pull the trigger, clear cap space, and potentially re-enter the market to address cornerback or other depth issues. Which, by the way, are plenty. Because behind Ramsey, who do we have? Kader Kohou, Cam Smith, Nick Needham, serviceable guys, sure, but no one that's striking fear into opposing quarterbacks. And let's not pretend like Cam Smith's rookie year gave us anything to hang our hats on. This secondary without Ramsey becomes a question mark. And in a division that includes Josh Allen and now Aaron Rodgers, if he stays healthy, that's a problem. This is where things get dicey. The Dolphins are in win-now mode. They've pushed chips into the middle of the table with the Tyreek Hill trade, the Tua decision, the massive cap maneuvering. So if they're going to ship Ramsey off and lose that elite veteran presence on the back end, they better have a plan. Whether that's signing a proven corner off the street or making another aggressive trade, they cannot walk into week 1 with holes in the secondary and a rookie-heavy